Welcome to Season 3 of the Spotlight series, Don't Just Survive, Thrive. Season 1 was launched to help people through the pandemic by talking to a variety of experts about topics such as psychology, finance, and health. Season 2 focused on more work-related issues, including HR, marketing, and leadership. Now it is time for Season 3. Season 3 is centered on the IT industry, specifically tech startups. There are also career spotlights where I talk to senior IT people about the secrets to their impressive career journeys. My name is Nicholas Steele, founder of JJP Talent Solutions, an Australian IT recruitment company. For over 20 years, I've helped tech startups and innovative SMEs to attract, recruit, and retain technical talent. I hope you enjoy listening. I'm delighted to introduce Prasanna Nagar. Prasanna works at Commonwealth Bank for 6 years as the Executive Manager for Customer Engagement and Decision Science. For the past few years, he's co-founded a startup called Zivora. Today, we're going to talk about the secrets to his success in data career, as well as the challenges and benefits of co-founding a startup. Prasanna, thank you for joining me on Season 3, Episode 5 of the Spotlight series, Don't Just Survive, Thrive.
Oh, my pleasure, Nicola. Thank you for welcoming me.
Thank you, Prasanna. So, Prasanna, tell me a little bit more about your background and your career history.
My background is, I'm a civil engineer. So I have an engineering background and I had curiosity to learn computer science. I did my master's in computer science. And my career history spans across a lot of different things I've been involved with. So I started my career in the state government, which is in the Department of Agriculture, Western Australia. And that's where I started. Then I moved towards work in Medicare Australia in Canberra. And that was in the information and statistical section. So that kind of got me a lot into numbers and analytics. And from there, I ventured into the private industry, which is more around banking. And I worked for Westpac and also briefly for, I would say, a non-banking online lender, and then moved to Combank, and then now eventually working with my own startup and other projects I do.
That's fantastic. And you've lived in WA and Canberra and now Sydney, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think you said you were a mechanical engineer. So what really attracted you to data analytics?
Oh, sorry, a civil engineer.
Civil engineer, sorry, yeah. I beg your pardon. So what really attracted you to data analytics?
I think that if you're from an engineering background, the core of engineering is problem solving. So it's very natural for any stream within engineering, whether it's mechanical, civil, electrical, electronics, that the common constant there is problem solving. So in today's world, everything is quite getting data-driven. So it's a natural attraction towards moving to that area where you are backed by facts, backed by data, and then you get the whole thrill of solving something. So I think I was just naturally attracted towards it. The medium to do that was using computer science. So I think that's the learning or the skill which I had to kind of adapt and or bring it in my work. So, and that complemented the problem solving. And that's what made it quite interesting.
Excellent. So essentially you really love solving problems, and that's how you found where you are today. Quite a long career history there. So what would you say the main highlights have been of your career so far?
I think I would start to say that I was quite fortunate to have good mentors and leaders. So my journey has been as exciting as it has been. It has been made exciting by the people I've come across, and especially the ones who have guided me. So in this area or in this line of work, it's what I have learned that, or as an highlight, that to find the right people to guide you as a leader, as a mentor is so important, because that actually gets you going or gives you the direction or the curiosity to learn more and more or and perform. So yes, with the work I've been involved in my professional career, there's a lot of accolades which I've won. But the one thing I would say as a highlight is the people I've come across, how much I've learned from people who are smart, who are possibly much more better than me. So that learning which I got from the people around me has been the biggest highlight of my career.
That's fantastic. And I did a podcast with Shira Sagar, who's also an expert in data analytics. And he said a very similar thing, both with regards to problem solving and also with regards to mentoring and really learning from smart people. So it seems to be a very common theme in the world of data. And also, what have been the main challenges, would you say, in your career?
I think when you go in an expertise area or on any knowledge-based industry, there are a lot of paradigms, a lot of theories which you can master. So it could be, I know how to know algorithms, but the challenges comes that how do you apply those theories in an actual business world? So the challenges comes that from somebody who is technically competent, which in this case, let's say who is somebody coming from a data analytical background, how do you actually learn the concepts of business and use those technical prowess you have in those lines of businesses and then get value out of it? So, for example, you might know a lot of data mining algorithms and you might get an exposure to work in marketing, but then you would need to understand that how marketing applies to that business and what are the things they're doing, what are the customer they want to target, and then that combination and of the skill and the business acumen is the key to success.
So matching not just the theory to the real world, essentially, and making it relevant.
Yes.
And you've had a pretty fabulous career progression over the years there. So what would you say are the real secrets behind your success?
Well, I think I was just fortunate, as I mentioned earlier, with the people I've come across and the leaders who have given me those opportunities. But if I had to choose, it was just my curiosity to try something new and learn. So I just went with that whole curiosity to learn, and that learning presented me the opportunities. And then I just always used to put my hand up that I want to do it. So it was not that I was shying away from learning something different. So in my career, I've worked in a lot of different segments as well. So fraud could be product, could be strategy, could be reporting, could be now one of my pet favorites is data visualization. So all these different streams, I've just put my hand up to work in it. And that curiosity has brought, you might say, accolades or how I've progressed as well.
That's fantastic. I love curiosity. Some people call it nosy, but that curiosity and also that willingness to put your hand up and try new things, which is really fabulous there. And when you're building your startup team, that you'll talk about soon, and also when you were building your teams at Commonwealth Bank, at Westpac, etc., what did you really look for when you were building your teams? What kind of skills would you say were really essential?
So I always have followed something which I've never actually held an interview inside the institutional complex or in a building or somewhere. I always prefer a quite informal way to chat. So I just always try to make the candidate quite comfortable. So it's more about what is that person about? Does that meet? What's the interest? So regardless of, I've had people in my teams who have come from multidisciplinary backgrounds. That does not necessarily mean that you would need to have a certain tick boxes checked to kind of be in that team. It is because I think we sometimes we underestimate the value of human potential, because if person has the key interest and that ability to say that, yes, I can do it, and the whole idea of understanding the business as well and working with people, that surprises a lot. So I've always gone with that instinctive of what does that candidate wants to do in their life. What we are offering matches that aspiration that candidate's having. And if that's a perfect blend, then I feel that it's not about the role. It's about that this person is the right fit with the people we have around us. And they just thrive in that environment. And I've been always in this case, have been surprised how they have just outperformed their own expectations.
That's fantastic. So it's like the analogy of get the right people on the bus and then decide where they're going to sit, so to speak. And specifically with regards to careers in data analytics, what would you say are the essential skills?
Well, in data analytics, you have to work with data. So don't go for the shiny stuff first, because 80% of the effort is spent in understanding the data, which is pretty much dealing with a lot of garbage. So structuring the data, what is it all about, understanding it. So I think focus on the core element. And the other part is knowing what the problem you're wanting to solve and understanding what your business partners, in this case, or could be business stakeholders, what are the key pain points they have. So I would say don't build vitamins, go for the aspirin. So which means that you only solve the headache they have, and don't go for all the other features you think that, oh, this would look cool or this would look really great. But no, solve the actual pain point which the business is having. So that combination of understanding the pain point, understanding the problem, and then blending it with the right solution or what you're trying to build, that's the key for anybody to start with.
So having that laser sharp focus, not getting distracted by lots of things on the periphery.
Yes, because in any data analytics world, there's a lot of distractions. So you would go, oh, this algorithm is very cool. Let me just try that approach. But you might be just wasting a lot of time where it doesn't add any value to the end user. So it as cool as that when you are coding it or when you are actually looking or trying to apply it in, let's say, as a prototype, but all that time is just gone to waste. Rather, I would say speak to the business, speak to the people, understand the problem as much as you can. Sometimes we as engineers also over-engineer the solution. So it's better to be as simple as possible with your solution so that you could go, yep, that makes sense and it's a lot of value in it.
Yeah. Okay. So keeping it simple as well, and keep your eyes on the customer, what the customer needs, rather than all the fancy, shiny tech.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you worked in some big corporate environments, CBA, Westpac, in government, and then you founded your startup.
Yeah.
So what was your purpose behind Zivora?
Well, this is a very tough question. So I will just go give you a brief background on how it all started. Mm-hmm. I was just attending a conference in New York regarding data analytics and machine learning and big data. And while I was at that conference listening to all the speakers, I met a lot of good people there as well. While coming back, I was thinking that I really need to do something different and kind of think about at that point of time, visualization was a key interest of mine, and I wanted to kind of work on some platform to enable it to do it better. So that was the whole idea. And so I wasn't sure, but I actually wanted to do it. So I thought I should just get some time off and experiment with some of the ideas which are floating in my head and just try to work it out. And that's the reason I kind of left and took a break and wanted to give myself that space to kind of think around those. What are the possible solutions? It's there. And apparently it worked out. It was just a disaster because I wasted a lot of time of research and it just didn't work through as I was wanting to work. And I think I also needed that as a lesson that sometimes not every time you do things, you have a solution in place. So I think that's the first learning I got from thinking about a startup, which was failure. Then the interesting thing came, there were a few ex-colleagues of mine who we decided that let's start to do some projects or a boutique consulting around data analytics and advanced or advanced analytics and data visualization. So we started to do projects with banks and other big corporates. And then when I was starting to do projects, there were a lot of ideas tinkering in my brain. Oh, that could help someone. That could help someone. And going through that, eventually we landed upon something which we felt was a problem faced by small business on a daily basis, which is understanding their financial data and how better to manage their cash flow. So something about thinking where I think about all these big solutions for big corporates, I came down to a very simple solution for small to medium businesses. And that just became a passion of mine because I felt there are a lot of businesses who need that support or that acumen where they could easily understand what they want to do and how they could steer the business backed by data and intelligence or insights in a correct manner. And that's how I gave birth to Zivora, and that's what led us to build it. And here we are.
That's really great. And I love the fact that you stand up and admit that it was a failure and you really learned from your mistakes and then we're going out to solve a problem for small to medium sized businesses. And that was your real purpose there.
Yeah, I think I would be very surprised if any startup founder would say that the step one they took and it's a success. Step two they took, it's a success. I think with startups, it starts with failure. It starts with where you think that this is the world it's going to be. It comes crumbling down. I think it's a check on it gives you a big check on your intellectual ability, your ego, everything. It just shakes you down. And you again go back and think that, okay, what should I again start with? So it's like a kid trying to build a Lego. And some of those you're trying to build something, the pieces fall over, you try again. And I think this is the matured learning which you get from running a startup and lots of life lessons, I should say. And
yes, life lessons and war wounds.
Yes.
And you worked, as I said, at CBA, Westpac, government, etc. How have you found that transition from the big corporate world to the startup world?
I would be honest to admit it was very hard. Mm-hmm. Very, very hard to say, because when you're in those established organizations, to say something like Commonwealth Bank or Westpac, you have all the processes and the support mechanism around you all sorted. You do not need to worry about things. You are just focused on what you need to solve. You go with your laser sharp focus. You have the best team around you, and your job is relatively quite easier. So you not have many battles to fight. You just focus on solving that problem. In a startup, you're not just focused on only solving the problem, but there are lots of other things you have to think about. There is staff, there is legal, there is you have to manage your own finances, teams, and there's day-to-day things. So it's your world's just totally turned upside down. That was a bit of a struggle for me when I first started, because being used in a corporate environment for so long, it takes a while for you to mentally adjust the way things work in startups. So it took me a while, but then I think I can now juggle a few things. I'm getting better in managing a few things. I'm still learning on a few things, and but I think you get very good with managing your time and the priorities now, because I cannot afford to waste any of those things.
Wearing lots of different hats.
Yes.
And I guess coming back to that laser focus on time and making sure that you're spending your time on the right activities, and lots of different activities as well.
Absolutely. It's so important, because for a startup like ours, we are bootstrapped. So we cannot afford to waste either our time or either our team's time, because it just burns money. So we have to be so very focused on the decision making, so very focused on the value, and so very focused on challenging each other as well. That is that the right decision, or is that not the right decision? So that we do not just waste the time, but also money.
Definitely. And yeah, with regards to your team, so how big's your team there at Zivora?
We are quite lean. So we started, we were 5, now we are 4. And myself, my co-founder Wayne, and my chief technology CTO Jin, and we have one more senior developer. So we are all coming from a technical background, other than Wayne, who is more around business and strategy. So we all are quite hands-on, and we have kept it lean in a way, and we're able to manage it up until now.
So you're mainly technical people, and your core values, what are your core values, and how's that really driven the culture of Zivora?
So we have been quite flexible from the beginning, and my core values is that whenever even while hiring, is that the work should not be the first priority as well. So if you are focusing on work as your first priority, then I don't think so you have got your balances right, which means that your biggest passion, if you have a family, then of course family should be your first. And if you're happy with what things around you, then you might be able to think around the work or things in a better way. So I think my first is that give the focus to the things outside of work first, because then you will bring the best for work. So I think it quite differently. So I don't say, oh, work is the most important thing. No, it should be the things outside of work should be your first and most important thing, so that once you're happy there, you will bring the best on whatever you do related to work. Then it's more around, I think we have quite honest and trust is the biggest thing. We are quite open. We are horizontal. There's nothing, designation doesn't mean anything. Everybody has a key on decision making. And we huddle around people where if we think that, for example, in this case, if Jin's quite better in doing some aspect of the work, we kind of listen to Jin, and then Jin becomes the decision maker. If Wayne's the one who is good at taking decisions on certain aspect of that module we are trying to do, then he becomes so we switch those hats quite good, and that drives a lot of balance within the team as well. And we stand for empathy and compassion towards others as well, in the sense that whatever we are trying to do, if we are carrying those values ourselves, then our product should also have those values in it if we are building it. So Zivora has the key purpose is to solve or help small businesses. We know that we could actually contribute towards an economy which is quite driven through SMB in Australia. So if we carry those values in ourselves, I think our products which we are building should reflect it as well. So pretty much we stand across focus things outside of work first, honesty, and then it's the empathy and the compassion.
That's really fantastic. I really love all those core values, and starting really at the heart, so to speak, and then, as you say, the work and everything will come.
The reason I say that is, Nicola, sorry to interrupt here, but if I actually looked at my career, that for all the things or ideas which have come to me have never come when I was in work. It was, let's say I'm out for a walk and I'm listening to music and I'm just in a very good state of mind. And suddenly some idea brings, oh, I could have done this way at this problem which I was trying to solve. So I observe that all the good things which has got me recognition or that has helped the team or something, or even if I ask my colleagues, it has always been where it's in an environment outside of work. So that gave me that moment that nothing gets thing in work because we are so much pressured to do that. So let's just create an atmosphere here or an environment for people where there are no boundaries. So let's them make as free as possible so they could actually think around those solutions with a free mind.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. It's when I find it's either when I'm walking, taking the dog for a walk, or doing the vacuuming. I love vacuuming. And not many people would say that, but it does give you time to achieve something and think at the same time, because it's quite a mindless task and it puts you in a free state of flow. Exactly. So yes, that's great, and you're bringing that environment into work as well. And as you've said, being the founder of a startup comes with its challenges. What would you say have been your main challenges when you started and then as Zivora grew?
I think in terms of challenges was if I look back and if I have to do things a bit differently, I would have further started a bit smaller, like a very, very small MVP, and tested it really hard with my segment. So I think the focus was a lot on technology and some building some foundations up. I felt we spent a lot of time doing that. So we were quite, as we wanted to build a very smart solution, or we wanted to get out at a very, I would say, effective pricing, low and effective pricing. We wanted to make sure that the foundations of technology we're doing and enables us or allows us to do that, to pass on those benefits. So we had to kind of think a lot harder on how do we do it smartly. But I think we spent a lot of time doing that. If I would not have been worried about it and just, let's say, in today's world, I could have used any of those no coding tools and just built a small MVP and just went faster on testing it, it would have actually helped me. So I think I would say the first challenge, never get distracted too much with your strengths. Second challenge, I think, is finding the right people. It took me quite some time to find the right CTO. So I think that's the biggest challenge any startup would face. People is hiring the best people you want, because it's a very competitive environment. You really need to work hard to convince someone, make them believe in your vision, make them believe in your values, and then also find the right fit in terms of culture and personality, so that you know that it's not just going to be a fellow colleague, but it's going to be your best friend. So it took us quite some time to find someone. So that's, I would say, another, because if you have the right people with you, I think your 80% of your problems are solved. You don't need to worry about anything. You are calm, you are happy, you know that people are trustworthy. You don't need to, most of those worries are gone. So I think people would be my next challenge. And the third is the ability to learn to say no to yourself, because as you're a co-founder, you're quite invested emotionally as well, and with what you're wanting to do. So how you could actually sometimes just be very assertive to yourself and say, no, I don't think so, that's a good thing. But it's the emotional side which takes over and say, no, I still want to pursue with that passion because I think it can work. If you get too much of those thoughts, I think it can work, I think it will never work. So that's the learning, I would say. That's the last thing I would want to say to anybody who is still wants to. I don't want to kill their aspirations. I think definitely they should try it, but learn to say no to yourself. If you think that that's not, it's the think or an if, then just say no and don't do it unless you're absolutely sure that that's going to work for you, and back yourself with as much data as possible to back your decisions that it's good.
Those are really great challenges. So the people, having a more basic MVP and the ability to say no. And also, I think to a certain extent, don't get too emotionally involved in your startup as well.
Yes, because your emotions can overrun some sound judgment calls. So your call, let's say your team might say, I don't think so, this is good. But if you are too emotionally involved, you will override it, because at the end of the day, you are the co-founder. So you can challenge that and override those decisions. But if you tell yourself that, possibly, if you tell them, no, this is not going to work and this is the data, I trust the team. Yes, you sometimes trust the team, but sometimes you are in that dilemma whether you agree with the team or you still have that instinctive feeling, because there's always this theory people challenge, right? Oh, if Jobs wouldn't have gone with the instinct, then the iPhone wouldn't have, you don't have iPhones. But not everybody is Steve Jobs, right? So sometimes you need to back yourself with that, no, I think it's not. So stop at that. You will save a lot of money. You will save a lot of time. It will be helpful for you.
Excellent. So how old is Zivora now? How long has it been running for?
We are, so since we left I left banking, I was doing consulting work with my business partner. So that's what we were doing. And Zivora is 18 months old, so it's fairly new. We have pivoted a bit, but I think it's moving slowly and well, I would say. Not that we were not wanting exponential growth, but if exponential growth also brings a lot of things where you would need to then think about either funding or looking for those options. We want to keep it bootstrapped at this stage. So we're okay with its growth. Yes, if you would ask, can it do better? Yes, it can definitely do better. So there are a lot of areas of improvement for us in terms of growth and marketing, which we are focusing on. But hopefully by the end of this year or in the new year, it should again pick up well for us.
Yes, I think the market generally is picking up. And if you could turn back the clock over your whole career, or specifically with Zivora, is there anything that you would do differently?
No, I think I'm quite blessed with what opportunities I've been given. I think very fortunate, as I mentioned before, with the people I've come across. Yes, with Zivora, I would have definitely done things a bit more differently to start with, but those are the lessons any startups give you. So that was our first ride on building a SaaS product, which is software as a service. So it has lessons all over for us. So if I would have to do it again, I would do it very differently. I would actually launch a product quite fast because I've learned what mistakes I've done now. So yes, I could do Zivora a bit differently. But saying that, it's not that I'm not passionate about it now. I'm equally passionate, and I still want to grow it further and further. And we have a goal to double our team by next year. So we just are quite focused towards it.
That's brilliant. So at the end of the day, you wouldn't turn back the clock because you've learned from those mistakes and those were of benefit to you.
I think those are absolutely nuggets of gold for me. If I would not have learned from those mistakes, I don't think so I would have matured or have got the knowledge of what I should not do now. So I think I've treated failure as the biggest lessons or the gift which life could give me. And I would take those as lessons which would going to help me in future regardless.
And that seems to, I'm talking to a lot of startup founders at the moment, and that's a very common theme. They kind of embrace the mistakes or the lessons learned at the beginning to make a better product or service or whatever they're aiming to achieve.
Yes, and it is. And I think for any successful person you might look, or even a sports one. For example, for Michael Jordan, the most likable or revered basketball star, a lot of people idolize him. But if you actually look at the numbers of the shots he would have missed, are far greater than the number of shots which have gone in. So I think that's a lesson that, yes, there's a lot of effort and there's a lot of where you need to keep on perseverance, is the key, where you keep persisting with your sincere hard work and efforts. And results might come in. So yes, you will miss a few, but you will also get shots which are going in the basket.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for sharing your insights, Prasanna. Is there anything else that you'd like to share at all?
All I would say is for your listeners or any future wannabes who want to work in data analytics or startups, all I would say is always follow your heart. Do try what you believe in it. Don't give up. Life is quite exciting. Every turn will bring a new opportunity for you to learn. So just enjoy the ride.
Perfect. Enjoy the ride. I love it. Thank you very much, Prasanna.
Thank you, Nicola. Pleasure.
I hope that you enjoyed this episode. Please remember to subscribe, rate, and review. If you're looking for career advice, your next career opportunity, or to grow your tech team, then please call me, Nicola Steele, on 0499 773 546, or go to our website, jjptalent.com.au. The Don't Just Survive, Thrive podcast is part of the Spotlight series, which includes the YouTube channel Spotlight on Software Development. If you want more insights into the software industry, particularly tech startups, then subscribe to the Spotlight on Software Development YouTube channel. Thank you for listening. Until next time.